Hello, I'm Paper Bagman, and welcome to another review, I guess. So, let's talk about the Batman. The Batman. Holy shit is the word I would describe it. I'm still in shock that this movie is so great. Like, yes, obviously the trailers were good. But when you look at the marketing and stuff, it just I don't know. There was this fear of mine that everything was just going to be a bit too edgy and kind of appeal to that Joker fan base and stuff. I didn't really like Joker. I felt this was going to be another Joker, possibly. But luckily, they actually went in the opposite direction. In fact, for like the first half of the movie, or like even towards the end, I was thinking it was in that direction. I wasn't liking it. But towards the end, there is a line that is said where you realize that all that edgelord shit that's super annoying that I don't like, it was actually there on purpose to be annoying, and they actually show you that it's part of the arc of the film. But let's talk about the filmmaking of the movie. Matt Reeves, who I have already known from the Planet of the Apes movies, I remember being so impressed by Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Even though they were extremely well shot, it seems that Matt Reeves had an impersonal touch to the films. It felt very deliberate to not have over the top camera moves that would show off his direction. He was very held back, very restrained, which I think helped those films a lot. When it comes to the Batman, it seems he has come to the opposite direction. I think he's taken the same style in terms of the action sequences and overall framing of the shots, purposely being held back and not showing off any cool or over the top expansion. But the benefit in this film is that he let the world be so crazy. You really get a sense of what Gotham is like in this movie, and it's just a treat to behold. The musical score is absolutely great, and it was classical. You would think it would go for a more modern sound, like some techno pop or something, but instead you get all these classical orchestral scores, and it feels like it's going to become a classic theme in the years to come. Robert Pattinson did a great job as Batman. I don't know what else to say. He did an amazing job. I'm not going to say from the beginning I was for him, but when you look at his filmography besides the obvious Twilight films, and even then he's playing a very specific person who I'm sure he was directed to act that way for. When you look at his other work, it's very clear that he's a very diverse and talented actor, and he did an absolutely killer job as Bruce Wayne and the Batman. A very different take on Bruce Wayne and the Batman, but it works all the same. The villains, specifically the ones played by Stanley Tucci and Colin Farrell, were very good. It's nice to see kind of like old school gangsters in this type of movie. It's really great. Paul Dano as the Riddler, for a lot of the scenes, does a great job. And I don't mean to like rag on him, but I felt was the weakest link of the film. I definitely had vibes of actor trying to show off that how cool and how method he's being as the character in some scenes. But I mean, he was still great, and he's better than fucking Jim Carrey, obviously. Just the little bits if I had to complain about certain small little things. In terms of the supporting cast, obviously, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman did an amazing job. She was really good. She just really brought it to the role. Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon does an absolutely amazing job. He was fantastic in the movie. He rivals Gary Oldman. I don't know if he's better than Gary Oldman, but they both do a really good job in the role. I think their approach to this story was very well done. Batman has always been considered the world's greatest detective, and in this movie we get to actually see him do detective work, which is really refreshing for this kind of movie. And it's not just refreshing as a twist to the Batman story. It's also refreshing as a twist to the crime genre. I love a good crime thriller, and this isn't my favorite crime thriller, but I think it has a great twist on the crime thriller, in that what if the person investigating the crime also was hated by the police and every time was confronted by them would have to like run away in fear of getting arrested? It's a perfect contrast to this usual type of story, and I think it works really well, even taking out the Batman aspect of it. The movie is 2 hours and 55 minutes long. Now, this was the biggest detractor for me going in. I just didn't feel like a Batman movie needed to be this long, and I guess I was wrong. Because genuinely, when I watched this movie, time flew by. I'm not going to act like some scenes didn't feel a bit long, but I think when you know where the story is heading, you're able to forgive those small little aspects of the story where it just kind of feels a bit slow. I think over the coming months, when this movie gets featured on like Blu-ray and it gets like its own honest trailer or its own CinemaSins video, we're going to notice a lot of the nitpicky points that everyone likes to try to point out about it.
I didn't like the new Batman. However, the scene where spoiler Batman dons a ridiculous flying squirrel suit, jumps off a building, eats shit, and never talks about it again is just extremely good. Lol lolmfao funny shit, bro.
And I think there's a lot of little nitpicky stuff you can say about the movie or whatever, but it's one of the best superhero movies in the last 10 years, for sure. The question of is it better than The Dark Knight? I'm going to have to say a no to that. I'm going to have to say no, it's not better than Dark Knight. I think people are using the fact that this movie's good as an excuse to rag on The Dark Knight, and I don't think that's fair. The Dark Knight's still good. These two movies are going for two different goals. I think this movie is going to appease the comic book fan and a lot of people more than Dark Knight will, for sure. And I think even if you're not looking for that, I think it works as a crime thriller. I would recommend that anyone, honestly, anyone watch it. I don't know who wouldn't like it, to be perfectly clear. I'm going to give this a very high rating, and maybe I'll regret this on second viewing when like the flaws become more obvious, but just like seeing it right out of the theater, it was so crazy. I gotta give it. I have to give the Batman a 10 out of 10. It's extremely high, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You know. I'm so excited to see what comes next. I definitely feel like this is the first version that feels like a Robin could exist in this universe and it wouldn't feel out of place. One thing I'll say is that there's one scene towards the end, and I think everyone knows the scene if you've seen it, but I won't spoil it. But there's one scene that's very feels like the biggest studio mandate of the movie. I don't think it needed to be there. In fact, I hope they don't actually continue that thread because we really don't need more of that aspect in other Batman movies. But everyone check it out. Everyone is checking it out. What am I saying? It was a fun time. I'm very glad I watched it. Goodbye, guys.